I'm a huge fan of Elton John. I've idolised him since I was about 11 years of age. I consider him to be a total musical genius, easily up there with Lennon and McCartney, if not better. He's a global beacon for gay rights, and his legacy touches everything from the fight against AIDS to Watford Football Club, and he's currently on stage in the Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour, which is the biggest grossing tour on the planet as we speak. Not bad for a man aged 75, but let's be honest, he still plays like a teenager. One of the great things about this man is his focus on creating the greatest music the world has ever heard, in playing the piano brilliantly, and in fighting for causes about which he's passionate. But he's never been political, which is why it's a huge disappointment to me to see him announce his departure from the social media platform Twitter. Here's what he had to say. He tweeted, "All my life I've tried to use music to bring people together. Yet it saddens me to see how misinformation is now being used to divide our world. I've decided to no longer use Twitter given their recent change in policy, which will allow misinformation to flourish unchecked." Now, I do like the rather dry response from new Twitter owner Elon Musk, who replied with the following. He said to Elton, "I love your music. I hope you come back. Is there any misinformation in particular that you're concerned about?" And of course, there's no answer to that. Elton John has a heart the size of Texas, and he's incredibly clever and informed as well. But his remarks about misinformation are a misjudgment. As we've learned throughout the pandemic and throughout history for that matter, many things labelled misinformation at the time often turn out to be the truth. There was a time when people claiming the earth was round were imprisoned, tortured, and even killed. But the last time I checked, our lovely planet is a perfect circle. Challenging orthodoxies has good historic precedent, which is why it's such good news that Elon Musk is restoring free speech to Twitter, which for many has now become the digital town square, a marketplace of ideas and opinion where all issues can be debated. The problem with the word misinformation is who decides what that means? Early in the pandemic, it was misinformation to suggest COVID may have come from a lab in Wuhan. Now, it's a highly likely scenario. At the time, it would have got you cancelled. And don't forget that many people were taken off Twitter for suggesting that COVID came from a lab. It was considered heresy in many quarters to argue that lockdowns might ultimately kill more people than COVID, or that masks or school closures were hopelessly ineffective and needlessly damaging. These views may have been right, they may have been wrong, but they have their place. I would argue history is proving heretical lockdown skeptics right. In Elton's utopia, there would have been no such free discourse at a time when our lives were being drastically changed through government policy. Now, Joe Biden said, if you have the vaccine, you won't get COVID. He said, if you have the vaccine, you won't spread it. Both statements have turned out to be palpably untrue. They are false. So was that misinformation? You tell me. Do you see the problem? And I've got to say, Elton's decision to leave Twitter is symptomatic of the privileged elite who are happy to perpetuate any given narrative and crush opinions with which they disagree. Not only is Elton John one of the very greatest artists in the world, he's one of the greatest artists in history, but he has benefited from living in a country with a free, open culture where he could express himself in his personal life as a proud gay man and through his music with edgy songs like The Bitch Is Back and I Think I'm Going to Kill Myself, which would be banned or censored in radical regimes. I love Elton, and I always will. He was my specialist subject on Mastermind, for God's sake. 11 questions, 11 right answers. What a saddo I am. But this move smacks of virtue signalling, and it goes against that which any artist should stand for, which is freedom of expression. And if there are some dreadful people on Twitter who have unpalatable opinions, fair enough. Well, look, the public can read that stuff and they can dismiss it and expose it to scrutiny. But it's all rock and roll. The best possible example that I can give to Elton about why he's wrong on this one is the journalist Alex Berenson. Permanently suspended by Twitter for highly controversial tweets about the COVID-19 vaccine. Very, very controversial tweets. Berenson took Twitter to court and he sought to reverse that ban. Well, he was able to show the judge that every single tweet was based on official US government data. In other words, he was publishing official statistics for which he got cancelled. Now, I think, Elton, that you'll agree official government statistics are not misinformation, but are in fact information, and information the public needs to see. The judge threw out the case and upheld his claim, and he was reinstated to the platform. What about one of the greatest medics on the planet, Professor Jay Bhattacharya at the University of Stanford? This is not a guy who's like a nutter in his grandmother's bedroom, but a revered figure of science, who, it's been revealed this week, was censored by Twitter for calling out the dangers of COVID measures. It's the world's greatest doctor who was cancelled by Twitter. His tweets against school closures were restricted so they couldn't be seen by more people. This great man was on a blacklist. Do you want that kind of censorship, Elton? That's my question. Because that's what the founder of SpaceX, Elon Musk, is trying to eliminate. So that a revered figure like Bhattacharya, a rock star in his own right, can add to a crucial debate. So right now, it's Elton versus Elon. How ironic that the Rocket Man should fall out with the Rocket Man. It is Saturday night, and it's all right for fighting, especially with Elton John, because for the first time in his career, on this one, he's horribly out of tune.